Welcome back to Best College online classes. In this video lecture, we are going to discuss about the taxonomical aids, which are useful as a tools of classification. As already we started about this topic in last class, and we discussed about some important type of taxonomical aids in last class. In last class, we discussed about herbarium. What is herbarium? How to prepare a herbarium, and what are the important herbariums in the world that we discussed. At last, we discussed what are the advantages of herbariums, what are the important uses of herbariums in the classification of organisms. That all we discussed in last class. In this class, we will discuss about the remaining taxonomical aids. Along with herbarium, we discussed about the botanical garden also in last class, and I gave you some examples for the botanical gardens. Which is the largest botanical garden in the world? The largest botanical garden in the world is Main Botanical Garden. Main Botanical Garden, it is located in the Moscow of Russia. So it is about 900 acres. It is in 900 acres of area. So after that, Bundy's Botanical Garden of Paris. The second largest is Bundy's Botanical Garden of Paris. So it is about 400 acres. And after that, Royal Botanical Gardens. It is located in Kew of London. Located in Kew of London. It is about 300 acres. I think up to that we discussed in last class. So we are discussing the examples of botanical gardens, which are important botanical gardens in the world. Which is the largest botanical garden in the world? That is Main Botanical Garden of Moscow. Okay, so this is located in Moscow of Russia. It is about 900 acres in area. Next, after that, Bundy's Botanical Garden of Paris is the second largest. That is about 400 acres. And the third one is Royal Botanical Garden of Kew of London. Okay, it is about 300 acres. After that, what about in India? In India, Indian Botanical Gardens. In India, important botanical gardens I am giving now. Indian Botanical Garden. Indian Botanical Gardens, which is located at Sidhpur of Kolkata. Sidhpur of Kolkata. It is about 273 acres in area. So it is considering as a largest botanical garden in India. Which is the largest botanical garden in India? The largest botanical garden in India is Indian Botanical Gardens. Indian Botanical Gardens, that you have to notice here, right? Next, after that, is it clear? Indian Botanical Gardens, that you should notice here. So that is located in the Sidhpur of Kolkata. And after that, National Botanical Garden of Lucknow. National Botanical Garden. National Botanical Garden. So it is located in Lucknow of Uttar Pradesh. Lucknow of Uttar Pradesh. And it is about 70 acres. 70 acres. It is about 70 acres. It is it occupied 70 acres of area. So these two are important botanical gardens in India. One is Indian Botanical Garden, which is located in Sidhpur of Kolkata. It occupied 273 acres of land. And after that, National Botanical Garden, which is located in Lucknow of Uttar Pradesh. It is about 70 acres. So these two are important botanical gardens in India. Okay, as already we discussed, botanical garden is the large area where the collection of different species of plants from different localities are preserved and protected by human being. So in this, all activities of human being which will harms the plants or trees of botanical garden is completely prohibited. A limited activities of human being is allowed into the botanical gardens only for educational purposes, only tourism purposes, and research purposes only. The human is allowed into the botanical gardens. The first botanical garden in the world was started by, in last class I gave, Theophrastus. Theophrastus, who is considered as the father of botany, was the first person who established a scientific botanical garden for the first time. But the botanical gardens are the parts in the culture of India, China, and also in Roman culture. So that you should notice about the botanical garden. How this botanical garden is useful as a taxonomical aid. How it is useful as a taxonomical aid, that you have to know. See, in the botanical garden, different species from different localities are preserved and protected by human activities. If you observe the herbarium, in the herbarium there is availability of plant specimens. A live plant is not available, but in the botanical gardens, live plants are available. So it will give more valuable information than herbarium, that you have to notice, right? So it is very important method for the conservation of rare and endangered species. Rare and endangered species. Is it clear? So in this method, if there is any species which is in threat of extinction, if that is facing a threat of extinction, or the number of that species have been decreases, then that type of species will be collected and that will be preserved and protected in the botanical gardens. So we can save or we can conserve the rare and endangered species in the botanical gardens, that you have to notice, right? So that's clear about botanical garden. And along with this, from this botanical garden, the seeds of rare and endangered species may be collected and that will be preserved in the seed banks for future use. If that will be extincted, if the seeds are preserved in the seed banks, then we can easily produce that type of species in future. And also the gene banks, we can store the genetic material or the DNA that will be collected from the rare species, especially in the rare medicinal species, and that will be preserved. Okay, so it will provide a chance for the storage of valuable material like gametes and genetic material of rare and endangered species, that you have to notice in the botanical garden. Is it clear about the botanical garden? Right. So botanical garden is a huge area where different species of plants collected from different localities are preserved and conserved by human being. This will provide a live example or a live material for the experiments. And also the rare and endangered species will be protected in botanical gardens. And the seeds and genetic material of that particular rare and endangered species will be preserved with the help of these botanical gardens. So that is about the botanical gardens that you have to notice. You also form a botanical garden in your home, in your compound. You will select a small area. If you will collect some different plants, different species of plants from different localities, if you planted that, then automatically that is considered as a botanical garden. So botanical garden is nothing but an area where different species of plants are available that are collected from different areas and that are protected by a human being. But the scientific botanical gardens actually occupies a huge area. As I gave you the main botanical garden of Moscow, which is the largest botanical garden in the world. Main botanical garden of Moscow, it occupied how many acres of area? So it occupied 900 acres of land. So that much of big botanical garden was there in the Moscow of Russia. In India, Indian botanical gardens of Sipur of Kolkata, and also National Botanical Garden of Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. So the two are important botanical gardens in India, right? So the second type also completed here. The second taxonomical aid, which is the second taxonomical aid we discussed here, botanical garden, right? After completion of botanical gardens, herbarium, botanical garden, both are completed. if you observe the two, that are the tools of classification of only plants. So both herbarium and botanical garden is not useful for the classification of animals. So that are the taxonomical aids mainly for the classification of plants. So that act as a tools for the classification of plants or plant taxonomy. Now, what are the tools useful for classification of animals or animal taxonomy? That is, now we are discussing that museum. So, what is a museum? Maybe you all know this word. Okay. See, museum. This is a word came from a Greek word musein. This is a word came from a Greek word musein. Musein is actually the goddess of arts and science. So the word museum came from a Greek word musein. Maybe you all know that majority of the science words are derived from Greek or Latin languages. Okay. So here the word museum came from a Greek word musein. Musein is the goddess. In Greece, there is a goddess of arts and science. So the goddess of arts and science was science is Musein in Greece. So based on this name only you can understand. Musein is the goddess of arts and science. So in this place we will preserve the materials of arts and also the materials of science. So museum is a place where different materials are preserved, either that belongs to arts or that belongs to science. If you will visit Hampi, okay, so the capital of Vijayanagar Empire, there you can find a museum. In that museum, different materials or different ornaments or different equipments of that emperor was stored. That is a museum. But what is the relation of this museum with the classification of organism? So majority of the museum which we are visiting in our localities, that are mainly art museums. So valuable materials or valuable equipments of ancient days have been preserving in that. But what about in the research or in the scientific studies? What is the use of this museum? So now museum is the place where, so museum is the word which came from a Greek word musein. Musein is the goddess of Greece. She is the goddess of arts and science. So in the museum, we can preserve the materials that belong to arts or science. Okay, that we have to notice. The valuable materials, the important materials of arts or science will be preserved in this place. So museum is the place. In our scientific language, what is the relation of this museum with the classification of organisms and how it acts as a taxonomic aid that I am going to give you now. So here, museum is the place where the dead bodies of organisms which are modified as or which are preserved as specimens in the preservative substances or preservative liquids like chloroform or formalin. Chloroform or formalin will be stored for future references or for scientific studies or researches. For example, if you see, if there is a rare animal, one rare animal is there. This animal is facing the threat of extinction. So that animal may extinct in near future, within 10 or 20 years, it will be extincted. So to give an information about that particular animal or to study that particular animal in future, we have to collect the dead body of that animal. We have to preserve that in a preservative solution like chloroform or formalin. So chloroform or formalin will avoid the growth of microorganisms, and that will avoid the decomposition. Because of that, body of the dead organism will be preserved for long period of time. So here museum is a place. Museum is a place where the specimens of animals and also some plants, animals and plants. Museum is a place where the specimens of animals and plants preserved in preservative solutions like chloroform or formalin. Okay, so in preservative solutions, like what are commonly using preservative solutions here? Chloroform or formalin. So museum is a place where the specimens of animals and plants preserved in preservative solutions in glass jars or a glass bottle. So first of all, they will take a glass bottle, they will pour the preservative solution, either chloroform or formalin in that. After that, the body of that organism or a part of a plant or a plant material will be preserved, and it will be sealed. It will be completely sealed. So now we'll consider that as a specimen. Okay, so that specimen is preserved in solutions, preservative solutions in glass jars. For example, see, maybe you all know this. For example, see, it is a glass jar. In this glass jar, if you want to preserve an animal, that is the body of an animal, how to preserve that? Like this, somewhat is an animal. So first of all, you have to pour the preservative solution here. Okay. Then you have to keep this animal, that is the body of this animal, into preservative solution. After, you have to close this jar carefully to avoid the leakage you have to close that carefully. Now it is a specimen of a rare animal. So in this, the total body of an animal is preserved. The complete body of an organism is preserved in the museums. Okay, so any plant material or the body of a died organism or anesthetic organism, later it will be died, that's not a matter. If you want to prepare a specimen for a frog, how to prepare that? First you have to collect a frog, and after that you have to give anesthesia to that frog. Otherwise you have to dip that into chloroform solution. So automatically the frog will enter into unconsciousness. Then you have to keep that frog in this formalin solution or in this chloroform solution. After that you will close this jar. Okay, a careful closing of this jar is required to avoid the leakage of preservative solution. So this preservative solution should be changed at least for every 6 months. We have to change this preservative solution. What is the use of this preservative solution here? In this preservative solution, the microorganisms cannot grow, so the body of this organism will be not decomposed. So the total body of organisms will be available for future studies or future researches. So it is available. That is the museum. So museum is, I am giving the definition of museum only in the concern of as a taxonomical aid. How it helps as a taxonomical aid. But there are different meanings for the museums. These are not only useful for scientific researches or scientific studies or educational studies. These museums are also useful for preservation or exhibition of ancient materials, ancient and valuable materials. That is art museums. Now I am giving definition for a science museum. What is a science museum here? Museum is a place where the specimens of animals and plants preserved in preservative solutions like chloroform and formalin in glass jars. In glass jars. So that is the museum. What is the use of this museum? How the museums are useful for us? See, museums are the places where we will get the complete body of an organism, especially for the animals. The total body of an organism is available here. So if that organism will be extincted in future, if you want to study or if you want to go for a research in that animal, so museum will provide that chance. By visiting a museum, you will study different animals like a live animal, but these are died, but there is availability of entire body, no? So because of that, you can easily study the all morphological characters of that animal, okay, right? So museum will store the information about the complete morphological characters of animals, which will be useful for educational studies and scientific researches that we have to know. And even in this, if there is only skeleton available, remaining all parts is decomposed if that animal is extincted. So the skeletons of the animals are preserved in skeletal box. So there is no need to use this chloroform solution or any preservative solution. So the skeletons of animals are preserved in skeleton boxes. For example, you are all know that dinosaurs. Dinosaurs are the extincted organisms. You may know, once upon a time, the most dominant species on the earth was the dinosaurs. But during Cretaceous period, this dinosaurs was completely extincted. Then how we got information about these dinosaurs? Based on the fossils which was available. So based on the fossils which we find, okay. So in that fossils there is availability of only skeletal system. So that skeleton, if the skeleton of an extincted organism or a rare animal or whatever, if the skeleton will be collected, how to preserve that skeleton in the museum? Skeleton will be preserved in the skeletal boxes. No need of this formalin because that bones cannot be decomposed by the microorganisms. So no need to use this chloroform or formalin solution that we have to do. And after that, if the size of animal is big, so the big animals or large animals will be stuffed and preserved. For example, if you want to prepare a specimen for any of domesticated animals or a rabbit, if you want to prepare a specimen for a rabbit, first you have to stuff it that, then only you have to preserve. So the bodies of large animals, the bodies of large animals will be stuffed and preserved. What is this stuffed and preserved? What is stuffing? See, the removal of the alimentary canal, the internal parts inside the abdominal cavity should be completely removed. Then only the external morphological structure only preserved. Okay, is it clear? So to avoid internal decomposition, so even after this, inside alimentary canal, if there is any or microorganisms that may survive inside, no. So to avoid that, here large animals, the bodies of large animals will be stuffed, means all internal organs will be removed and again that will be preserved. So what is the use of this specimen? It is useful to study only morphological characters, mainly morphological characters. Because of that, the bodies of large animals should be stuffed, means all internal organs should be removed and preserved. And for the preservation of insects, So this insect actually possesses an exoskeleton, a chitin exoskeleton, a chitinous exoskeleton. Because of that, no need to preserve inside the formalin. There is a protective layer, that is a exoskeleton, chitinous exoskeleton is there. Because of that, to preserve these insects, we have to use insect box. This will be preserved in the insect box. It will be just pinned. It will be kept in an insect box and just pinned. Okay. So you have to preserve insects in the insect boxes. That you have to notice here. Is it clear? Right. That is about museum. So once again, museum is the place there the dead bodies of animals or important parts of plants is preserved in a preservative material which will provide a valuable information about the morphology, okay, of that organism in future. Next, what are the examples for this? What are the important museums in the world? See, the Natural History Museum of London is the famous Natural History Museum of London. It is very famous museum in the world. Natural History Museum of London is the most famous museum. Okay, so that is very important museum, and it is considered the first museum in the world also. Natural History Museum of London is very famous and considered the first museum in the world. And after that, United States National Museum, which is located at Washington. United States National Museum, which is located at Washington of USA, United States of America. It is also a famous museum. And in India, there is one famous museum, that is the National Museum of Natural History, located in Delhi, New Delhi. National Museum of Natural History. National Museum of Natural History, located in New Delhi. It is famous in India. It is famous. I gave here, these are the important science museums. These are the very important science museums that I have to know here. Right? That's clear. See, one thing you have to know in the museum, so whatever the materials that preserved in a museum is known as collection. So all the materials which are preserved in a museum is known as collection. So in the terms of museum, what is collection? Collection is the total materials which are present in a museum. The total materials which are present, or the total specimens which are present in a museum, is known as collection, right? So collection is the total number of specimens or total number of materials which are present in a museum. If we want to add a new material or new specimen to a museum, that material or specimen which is newly added, or the newly adding specimen or material, is known as acquisition. So these are the terms usually used in the museum. Acquisitions. What is acquisition means? Any material or specimen which is newly added to collection. Collection means the total materials or specimens that are present in a museum. If you want to add a new material or specimen, that is known as acquisition. So adding of acquisitions increases the size of collection, that you have to know. The newly adding materials or specimens are known as acquisitions, and the total materials or specimens which are present in the museum is a collection. And museum is maintained by a person who is commonly known as curator. Commonly you are using, you are listening this word in the sports, curator. So what is curator? Who is curator? The person who is maintaining this museum is curator. That you have to know. So along with these museums, you may notice different type of museums. Art museums are more in number than science museums. If you visit Mysore, there is also a museum. Okay. So like that, museums are useful as a tools for the classification of organisms, mainly animals. Okay. That's clear about that. What is the uses already I just gave? Okay. That's clear about the museum. Next, after completion of museum, what is the next we have to discuss here? What is collection? What is acquisition? What is meaning of curator? What is the meaning of museum? That you have to know, right? After completion of museum, zoological park are commonly known as zoo. Zoological parks. Zoological parks or zoological gardens. Zoological parks or zoological gardens, commonly known as zoo, but there is some difference between the zoo and a zoological park. Okay. So, what is a zoo in simple terms? Maybe you are all know that you are all visited zoos. What is this zoo? Zoo is a place where different animals or different species of animals are collected from various localities, and that will be under the control and care of human being. Zoo is the place where different type of animals are collected from different localities, and that animals are placed in an artificially created area. Artificially created area or artificially created habitat, and all the animals in the zoo are under the care and control of human being. Under the care and control of human being, that you have to notice. What is a zoo or zoological park? Zoo is the place where different type of animals or different species of animals, different types of animals. Zoo is a place where different type of animals collected from different localities or places, collected from different localities are placed in a artificially created habitat by human. Artificially created habitat by human, and all animals in the zoo, all animals in the zoo are under care and control of man. Care and control of man. So these animals are controlled by the man, and that are protected or conserved by the man here. So all the requirements for the animals in the zoo should be supplied by the man. So it is actually an artificially created habitat. It is habitat means what is habitat now? Habitat is the place where the organisms are naturally living. Okay, where the organisms are living is the habitat. But this is not a natural habitat, it is a man-made habitat, the artificially created habitat that you have to notice here. So different animals from different places will be collected, and that collected animals will be placed in an artificially created habitat by human, and all the requirements for the animals will be supplied by the man, and that are under the control and care of human being. Okay, so that is zoo. If you observe small zoos in your localities, a small zoo, See, usually the animals are restricted in cages. The animals are restricted in bone, which we are commonly using the word bone. The animals are restricted in a cage. The birds are restricted in cages. Okay. So that is a very normal or a small zoo. But nowadays we are using zoological park. In a common zoo, the animals are restricted in a cage or in a bone. But in zoological parks, the animal have more freedom than normal zoos because the animals will be freely live in a large area with a huge fencing. There is a huge area where it is completely there is a restricted circle, there is a fencing in large area, so the animals can easily move in the zoological park. That you have to notice here in the zoo and zoological park. So in a zoo, a small zoo, all animal activities are restricted. Animals cannot move freely as like in nature. So they are completely like in exile. But when if you will observe nowadays, zoological park, in the zoological parks or zoological gardens, a huge area will be selected and all the animals will live in that area freely to avoid the movement of that animals into human regions. It is completely avoided. The movement is avoided outside by fencing. Okay, there is a fencing for a large area. All animals will be released into that, and food will be supplied at particular times. At regular times, the food will be supplied for these animals. Is it clear? But one thing you should remember: in this zoological park, a tiger and deer cannot be live freely. If that will release, what will happen? You know. Okay, so different animals will be released freely, but not like tigers, lions, deer, and cows and all. If they will release like that, what will happen? You all know that next day there will be no herbivores, all carnivores only remain. So to avoid that, in the zoological parks there is separate. So separate fencing they will arrange for the carnivorous animals also. So that you have to notice in the zoo. All right. See, actually, zoos act as a keys of classification. Zoo is one of the very important tool for the classification of animals. For the classification of animals, zoo is one of the very important tool. Zoos are considered as a tools of classification. Zoo is considered as a tool of classification or a very important or key of classification of animals. Why the zoos are considered as a tool of classification? All are tools of classification, taxonomic aids, but zoo is the tool of classification of animals. How it helps as a tool of classification? If we will visit a zoo, is that knowledge useful for you to classify the organisms? Can you able to classify the organisms based on the knowledge what you will get by observing the animals in a zoo? If you will observe animals in a zoo, automatically you will get a knowledge about the morphological characters of animals, the external features. You can notice morphological characters of animals. You can easily study the morphological characters of animals. So with the help of these morphological characters, you can able to identify different organisms, or you have to group the organisms into different groups based on their external characters. Is it right? So zoos will provide a chance to study the morphological characters of animals, which is useful for the classification of organisms. For example, if you visit a zoo, if there is a tiger, a lion, a cheetah, a cat, can you able to identify the morphological characters? So based on that morphological characters, you can easily identify the tiger, lion, and all. Okay, like that, if you will observe different species of birds, based on their external morphology, how is the feathers? How is the length of feathers? How is the color of feathers? How is the beak? How is the color of beak? Based on that, you can easily classify or group the birds into different types. That is nothing but classification. Classification is nothing but grouping of organisms based on their characters. Now, by observing this in a zoo, you can easily group the animals based on their characters. If you will see monkey, gorilla, chimpanzee, orangutan, gibbon, even all looking like same. But if you carefully observe that morphological characters, you can easily classify them. You can classify organisms based on their morphological characters. And one more chance also there here. You can study the food habits of organisms. Food habits. If you observe the animals in the zoo, you can easily study the food habits of animals. Which type of food it will take. For example, if there is a lion, which type of food is required? If there is a rabbit, which type of food is required? If there is a fox, which type of food is required? If there is a giraffe, which type of food is required? So based on the food habits of organism, you can classify the animals into carnivores, herbivores, and omnivores. Okay. So it is also one of the valuable information you will get from the zoo. So zoos will provide a knowledge about the food habits of the organisms. So based on that, we can easily classify the animals. And also in the zoo, by a continuous observation or a continuous visit, you may observe the reproductive mechanism of the animals also. You may observe the reproductive mechanisms of animals also in the zoo. Reproductive mechanisms, like how the animal will produce the offsprings, either by laying eggs or that will give direct birth to the young one. If you follow that in zoo, you can easily notice it. Based on that, you should classify the animals as oviparous and viviparous animals, egg-laying animals, and the animals which will give birth directly to young one. So that is viviparous. So the reproductive mechanisms or reproductive behavior of organism also you can able to understand by visiting the zoo, a continuous observation. And also you will get a knowledge about the season of reproduction. In which season this animal will lay the egg, or in which season this animal will produce the offsprings. How many offsprings will be produced by this animal per season? So like that, all reproductive related or hatching related activities of organisms also you will learn in the zoos. Okay. So zoo is one of the very important tool of classification. Zoos are the tools of classification. Why? Justify. So can you justify that? So here, zoo is a very important taxonomical aid or tool of classification, because by observing the various animals which are not available in our localities, there is chance to observe different variety of animals in the zoo. By observing that, by seeing them, we will able to identify the morphological characters of animals, and we will study the food habits of the organisms here. And also by a continuous observation, we will get a knowledge about the reproductive mechanisms or reproductive activities of the organisms. So that you have to remember. Next, what are the important zoos in India that we have to discuss? But today, time up. In next class, we will discuss about some important zoos, and after that, we will proceed the remaining taxonomical aids. Thank you.